Welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast. My name is Ian Ray, your host. Today I have Dr. Cuan Wayne out in UK. He's advisor for NaturContact, as well as runs his own family sports chiropractic clinic. Dr. Cuan, welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast.
Ian, thanks so much for having me, man. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
Yes, I appreciate you for the time. And of course, let's dive in. So kind of love to have the audience learn more about you, your background, how you got into chiropractic, and of course, barefoot shoes. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm originally from South Africa. So I studied in South Africa. The chiropractic course there is a 6-year degree. So yeah, it's biasly the most in-depth chiropractic degree I would say in the world, because you're basically finishing with like physiotherapy, diagnostics, a lot of medical stuff with the chiropractic degree. So you're basically put into the world with a lot of knowledge, and then you basically just choose which lane you want to go down, you know? So I kind of fell in. My first practice was a pain-based myofascial trigger point practice. And that was really cool. I was in that practice for 7 years in the end. And then I took the big leap. I was still single at the time, and I was like, I need a work visa and I need just to explore the world a bit. So I found a work sponsor in the UK. I rode that out for 5 years. My hands were quite tied in terms of what I could do outside of chiropractic during that 5-year period. And then the last year, I've been fully British dual citizen. So now I can do whatever I want, which is great. So I took the plunge into just educating through social media. And that's been a real revelation how that's just, not exploded, but it's like really grown pretty quickly, which has been great. And all I'm doing is educating about how people can change their brain. Our protocol in our clinic is behind me. It's the NRE, Neural Re-Education Protocol. It's the assisted relearning of pain-free movement. So we just help patients transition from pain into longevity. As a lot of patients first come to clinics in pain, and then once they're out of pain, then you start promoting longevity and how they can help themselves, and you can just kind of become a facilitator for that, which is pretty cool. During lockdown, I was in the thick of it here in the UK. I finished writing a book, so that was pretty cool. My book is called Why Movement is Medicine. That's a lot of just my life story, a lot of my travels, mostly life stories. It's like definitely like not a textbook, but interwoven into the book is a lot of just health principles and how you can just use movement as medicine.
Yeah, totally agree. I feel like maybe it's just recent. Maybe you can attest to it too, like how people are more getting to movement, mobility, and it's an epidemic as far as people becoming in pain and trying to stay away from, let's say, injections, painkillers, and so forth. People are looking for that. But with the type of demographic or people that, are coming to you, who are they? What do they do? What are they coming in with? What type of pain or chronic conditions?
Spinal related pain is like the biggest one, right? So lower back, neck, headaches, I'd say are a big chunk of our patients. And then, I suppose just with the kind of fields, like I'm in, so I'm like part of a few local running clubs, cycling clubs and things. So you attract a few sports people. Sports injuries, we see them all, a lot of knee stuff. Knees are very common. And we'll delve into that later about how the barefoot shoe trend is really a great tool to help knee pain. Knees and everything around knees is very common. And then, feet. I treat a lot of feet as well. So whether a patient comes in to see me for their spine, we're always doing a full chain fix anyway. As you know, a patient's back pain might be like where someone's pain is the last link in the chain. It could be a dysfunction anywhere up or down the mechanical chain, left or right, front or back. So we assess the full chain, and those who are candidates for full-time barefoot shoes, we try to push them towards getting more barefoot. But even those who are, it's not negative to say sometimes a foot is too far gone, if it's age or dysfunction or surgeries. There's always stuff we can do to help manage and just get the graph in the right trajectory, right? Get the seesaw tilting in our favor again.
Yeah. About barefoot training and strengthening, how did you get into that? Is that something that you kind of gravitated towards as, from the years of being a chiropractor, or who introduced it to you?
So probably just the years of being a chiropractor. In South Africa, there's a sport, I suppose coastal towns and countries have got life-saving as a sport. So obviously you're doing it barefoot in beach sand. And yeah, I suppose that was just like always my like true passion, was just competing barefoot on sand against like Australians, whatever. Yeah. Then I also did a lot of sport myself. I competed for my country in triathlon, and probably just I'm quite heavy for a like runner, and I have had every possible injury, right? Shin splints, plantar fasciitis, ITBs, like all of the overuse stuff I've had. Yeah, it was just more like a trial and error. I think since I've been doing more barefoot stuff and just wearing barefoot shoes, especially during my work hours. Um, I started wearing barefoot shoes for work when I was still in South Africa. So that's a good 6, 7 years ago now. And yeah, touch wood, those niggles went away. Even though I was getting older, the overuse niggles went away, which often isn't the case, you know. So yeah, it was, and I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And then I came to UK, and then I was actually just looking for a new pair of shoes. Yeah, I was a paying customer with NaturContact. I've been using their shoes for over 2 years now, just because they actually look great. And often I'll tell people that I'm wearing barefoot shoes, and they're like, "What do you mean? Like you're wearing smart shoes, you know?" Because the like black Urban Breeze really do look pretty good. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
No, that's awesome. I think every person has their different ways of getting into barefoot shoes and, the strengthening portion because, like you said, pain or overuse, missed injuries, I mean, there's a lot of factors that people can come into finding out how can they, overcome these type of misalignments, especially their foot. But because that plays a huge role, as you can tell, the chain link from the ground up, I believe that's a philosophy that most people probably don't know about, or they weren't taught probably. And so I'd love to hear also as far as like barefoot shoes. Why are you such a big proponent of barefoot shoes?
So, wow, it's a big question. Yeah, so I think of the 4 pillars of movement. So in my book and my practice, we speak about 4 broad pillars. So we've got strength, endurance, mobility, and then proprioception. So one of the big major 4 pillars is proprioception, which that's I suppose for the listeners who don't know, it's the position sense of your joints in space. So if you close your eyes and we move a joint in space, you should be able to say it's going up, down, left, or right. And that's because as ligaments on one side of a joint move or stretch, there's receptors in the actual ligaments that tell the brain, cool, the body weight's going this way, your joints moving that way. So that's a function of the brain. And with chronic shoe use, especially supportive shoes, where it takes away the natural mechanisms of the plantar fascia to actually stretch, the whole windlass mechanism. We'll speak about that later. The ability of the big toe to pull down into the ground, but also the big toe to extend, is essential movements for proprioception, but also for the whole body. So from a chiropractor's point of view, it's like a no-brainer. We have to get the feet stronger. We have to get the whole chain stronger. And yeah, what's quite nice now is that there are more brands out there. It's more accepted. I think 10 years ago, a lot of these things were voodoo. Like you told someone I'm wearing barefoot shoes, you're a hippie. So it's really cool that all these things are becoming so natural and accepted that everyone's like, well, obviously you must be barefoot. It's almost like, well, it just makes sense that that's how the foot was designed. So yeah, it just fits well with my whole practice, where we're trying to treat the patient as a whole. We're trying to put their health needs first. And if a foot is causing someone's back pain reoccurrence, we're doing such a disservice if we don't draw at least some attention and education towards the foot.
Sure. Yeah. That's the most neglected part, I feel like, because, at birth, you have a perfect natural toe splay, as a child growing up. And then you put them into these conventional shoes where they squish the toes, like you're saying. Because I've noticed too, like, I've gone to barefoot shoes probably about 2 years ago. And so, like, I have to fix my 30 plus years of my proper mechanics of a foot. And just looking at it, I'm like, oh, yeah, definitely my big toe kind of already is turning in, and I have to fix that. So imagine having a child whose foot probably doesn't, fully form until, probably before their teen years. And so that's awesome that you have this 4 pillars teaching your clients coming in. So one thing I always want to know also is, like, what are some things that you look for in a barefoot shoes, or what should people look, what kind of things should they look in for as far as like different aspects of what makes a barefoot shoe?
Yeah, I suppose that is a great question. So yeah, barefoot shoe, I would say, needs to have 0 heel raise. So that's a major reason why traditional shoes should at least be used less, is just the fact that most shoes will have a heel raise. So if your heel is raised, your Achilles tendon might shorten. It also just affects how much that whole plantar fascia can actually activate to give you support further up the chain. So zero drop is a big one, which NaturContact definitely is. And then the wide toe box. So the ability of toes, like you mentioned earlier, toes fray, the ability of your toes to be able to spray outwards without restriction is essential. And yeah, that's just so countercultural to how shoes have been traditionally made. Smart shoes, especially heels, oh my gosh, where there's like literally toes are getting angled inwards. And yeah, we'll definitely touch on the mechanism of that big toe windlass mechanism. I think it's a very important mechanism for people to understand. And yeah, you just can't use a whole function of the foot with traditional shoes.
Yeah. I think flexibility too, right? Huge role for barefoot shoes, the rigid stiff sole outsole. What other things have you noticed as far
Yeah,
as what
so
made?
yes, so this is their sort of newer brand, newer models. These are formal soles. So, but yeah, like they're still flexible enough that they can really be flexible. My Urban Breeze ones were, I think, 2 mil, which I loved, to be honest. I loved the fact that I could feel a stone on the like road if I was walking, and it's such a funny mindset shift. Some people say, well, what if you feel a stone? I'm like, well, what if you feel a stone? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like you actually want to get the sensation back into your feet. We have as many receptors for touch in our feet as we do like our fingers, and
Hmm.
we can feel so many things. But when last you try to feel something with the toes, like it just feels bland, if that's a word.
Yeah. No, it's funny too because you would think the first thing that touches the ground, your feet. So shouldn't your body be able to feel the ground and know what it is so that it can send back, like you're saying, to the neuroreceptors? Like it makes sense.
Yeah. And then something else that drew me towards NaturContact at first was the affordability. So I think they're very, very well priced. And then what I was surprised by, now this is looking back retrospectively, was the durability. So I still have Urban Breeze 101s. Like I hope that they never break because they are still perfect. And now I'm actually on my feet right now. In the toes now, they're as durable and yeah, I've actually just left I've actually left one pair at my other clinic, so it's like they were just always there. So now I can run or cycle to work, and there's just always shoes there for me. It's perfect.
That's awesome to have those pairs. um, so all right, so we touched on like what makes Nature Contact kind of unique from the marketplace. And we talked about the different aspects of barefoot shoes. So for when you're talking with clients, the benefits of a barefoot shoe, because we all know that, like we're mentioning, the barefoot shoe is a tool for your feet. It's not to replace anything. If you're not doing any strengthening, mobility work, making the feet stronger, this only can do so much. But for you, and what you're telling clients, what are some ways that you can, that you tell them, hey, this is the benefits of barefoot shoes besides the proprioception to feel?
Yeah, good question. I would say the fact of the open toe box, the wide toe box, we often will just speak about that big toe. So a lot of patients, it's a nice motivator to get just better at their mechanics and their movement when I speak to the old version of them. So often we'll say to patients, listen, I'm speaking now to the version of you in 20, 30, 40 years time. You know, the movement of your big toe in 30, 40, 50 years time starts now.
Hmm.
So yeah, so I think it's a motivational thing to see how much we can improve structurally. Definitely, we see how much we can improve functionally, and we find a plan specifically to the patient. Yeah, I tell patients, yeah, man, it just makes sense, right? Like, and obviously everyone is unique, so we can't just say to everyone get barefoot because yeah, you have to be very cautious. I'm sure we'll touch on this later about how to transition to barefoot shoes. You have to be very cautious, play the incremental game. But yeah, I also just tell patients, like what happens when you do go to Europe and you're on the beach and you're barefoot, you can't be wearing your supportive arched shoes and your fancy insoles when you're barefoot on the beach. At the very least, we just need to get your barefoot functional. Even if you never want to transition to barefoot shoes, it's perfectly fine. We just want to get your barefoot stronger because that will add years to your foot and to your spine, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, it took, like I said, it took me 2 years to transition fully to barefoot shoes. Knowing that, it was coming from an active lifestyle like yourself. So, knowing that I was kind of being done of the aches and pains and the misuse of my mechanics, I had to, slowly transition to the where now I feel more comfortable along with working with the mobility aspects and strengthening my foot, because it's still a process for me. But for you, what are some great exercises that you give your clients as far as foot strengthening mobility for them so that they can transition to barefoot shoes?
Yeah, so the proprioception exercises have always been part of my practice. So whether it was showing patients, like this is even in South Africa days. So I was always doing them myself. Like my first ever YouTube video was a proprioception video. So to be fair, when I transitioned to barefoot shoes, I went straight 8 hours a day and there was no issues. Probably because I was already doing all the things that I would recommend to patients. So what would we recommend to patients? Again, full chain, right? So it's always going to be full chain. So it's not just foot specifically. So proprioception training, barefoot exercise, like very simple ones would be single leg standing. You can obviously start with assisted where you're holding onto something if you need to. Then you go to no assistance and then you go to eyes closed. And then once you've mastered that, then you go into unstable surfaces. So it's always progressionable and it's always scalable to someone wherever they are able to start from. Then in terms of full chain mobility, yeah, we need to look at the full chain, because you can't just stretch your foot if your glutes and your hip flexors are exceptionally tight and your shoulders are rounded. So yeah, so the big three I show to patients for posture in general, like just holding a good posture, is chest openers. So we're leaning through doorways a lot to open up the shoulders. Because yeah, as you know, we have to obviously release and get the shoulders able to get into neutral. It allows the lat to relax and the lat attaches to the opposite hip and glute. So yeah, so doorway stretches is a big one for mobility. Then hips. Hip mobility is big. What your hip is doing in its socket directly affects what the foot is doing on the ground and vice versa. So yeah, so we have to get the hip at least just pliable and movable so that when the foot starts changing its orientation, the hip can also change with it. So yeah, psoas, like couch stretch, lunge stretches, this is for like the big common ones. I'd say hip flexor, couch stretch are very big, and then glutes and like the whole posterior aspect, the back aspects of the hip. That's a good place to start from. And obviously it's very complicated and there's obviously lots more, but that's probably the big three in terms of mobility. I'm giving away all my tricks here. In terms of yeah, we are, like, besides just a healthy heart, we also want the muscles able to move for 8 hours, right? So don't go do an 8 hour cycle on your first day, but being able to move your body for an hour or 90 minutes, whether that's on the bike or inclined walking, you just have to have some kind of basic endurance, muscle endurance in the body. That's always just often an unthought of metric in the clinic sometimes. And then strength. Strength is a big one. On my YouTube channel, I've got the MoveMed 8. It's 8 movement patterns that I would show my patients very frequently. It touches on mostly spinal strengthening, but definitely hip. And then there's 2 for the ankle, which is the deep Achilles and calf raises for the Achilles and the plantar fascia, because we're doing this barefoot. And then we've got the tibialis anterior, raise. Obviously you can do this up against a wall, but getting your foot through a kettlebell and physically raising
Lifting.
yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
that's a game changer. That's on the 8. So it's interesting when 2 of the spinal strengthening 8 muscles are in the feet.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that. I'm sure I know you have probably a course somewhere where people can learn more about this, correct?
TBD.
Okay, I got you.
Soon. Yeah, very soon, hopefully.
Okay, cool. I didn't want to spill any beans before we go there. All right. So as far as your practice and where you see, this type of movement into the barefoot natural footwear, where do you see that going in the next 5-10 years? Do you see there's a movement that people are gravitating towards, especially these bigger brands or influencers, people who are like yourself, educating people more about the importance of it? Where do you see that going?
Yeah, I think it's going one way. I think all the big brands will have to bring out a version of free foot or mobile foot or something. They'll have to just do their own form of branding and marketing around that. But yeah, I think they'll have a range of those. But yeah, like for instance, I still use normal running shoes, So when I put normal shoes on, I feel like I'm running on clouds, not the brand, but yeah. When I put normal shoes on, it feels amazing because your foot is so used to the natural mechanics, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, I personally think that this whole movement is going towards natural foot health, but even the whole healthcare is going natural, which is great. Yeah, I think being in the allied health professions, it's cool to be positioned where we are now because a lot of people are looking for alternatives. So that's great. Yeah, so I do think the big brands will have to adapt slowly. Not that they need to. I mean, they'll still sell shoes, and not everyone is proactive about their health. I think as being healthy is a cool trend right now. There's still a lot of people who aren't even on board, and might never ever be on board. So I think there will still be a huge market for normal shoes, quote unquote, old school shoes. But there definitely will be a big market for people who want to add years to their body. I think barefoot will be part of the tools.
Yeah, I see. Definitely, there's a push, like you're mentioning. Many people I've talked to, having guests, they've seen just the influx because I guess back, 10, 15 years ago, there wasn't much. Maybe Vibram was one of the more popular brands of barefoot shoes, minimalist shoes. But now they're starting to have more, like NaturContact and everyone else who are coming in and offer different type of varieties for people to fit in. Because even, not all barefoot shoes are made equal to everyone's feet. So I think that's one thing that I also have to advise to people is that you just have to try on different shoes. The width of the forefoot is much different. This could be much too narrow for some people. You might have to find something that's wider. So definitely, I think finding the right fit for your foot is also important. So what you call
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, when I was still flirting around, so I have got two of the other branded shoes too. And yeah, I think like you said, it's almost like find which one works for you best, right? So two of my other brands that I've got, they've actually kind of broken through somewhere. So like just because of probably my foot shape, when I move, there's probably just a big crease at a slightly half a centimeter from where like a normal person's foot might crease. So yes, I agree with that. I found the wear and tear patterns are very different. But I suppose that's with all shoes, right? You might jump into a pair of shoes and get an instant blister. It just means that the foot is differently shaped, right?
yeah. I'm learning that myself, just from the many things of, people who have been, like I said, as guests, because the purpose of the podcast is to educate, like I said, the masses, people who are interested in this type of thing or health wise. But I think it's just educating, learning from, people like yourself who have been doing this, teaching this to their clients. And hopefully that can help them with whatever situation that they're going through. Last question I have for you is, what are some ways that are you planning to do to create more awareness for people online? I know you said like you might have a course, maybe something going on as far as helping reach a broader audience. So what are you doing to expose yourself to help educate people about barefoot shoes and even like I said, functionally, movement wise?
Yeah. So I know you said that you've seen my social media. So at the moment, my socials are literally only education. Yeah, literally. So that's been sort of the last 4 months. We've got a 4.5-month-old baby. So yeah,
Congrats.
I've chosen this type of content for now just because I can edit while she's asleep. I can write descriptions while she's sleeping, etc. So for now, that's all I'm doing actually is literally educating the public. I get lots of comments, and some of them are like, "Why are you giving away so much?" And I'm just like, "Well, why not?" I mean, like I personally went into healthcare to help people. Obviously, I have to make it like living too, but I literally went into healthcare to help people, and education, simplifying things. One of the three pillars of my practice is education. So yeah, I do a lot of it one-on-one with my patients in the room. We've got the online sessions now that and I'm going to probably stop doing, to be fair, when we have a broader community where I can have like group sessions, which would be great. But it just hits me that I can help people in the room one-on-one, but then I can only ever help a finite number of people. So hence I took the plunge, and it really has grown pretty quickly, which has been very humbling. I think everything I've said, people inherently accept, like, yeah, cool, that makes sense, or people try it. And now I've been doing this for, as I said, 4 months, and now I'm getting lots of more comments, people saying things like, wow, I tried some of your things and my back pain's gone away, you know? So yeah, it's really, really humbling. So for now, I'm only doing educational free content basically. But yeah, I would like to transition later this year towards an online community where people can join me in person once a week. Would be really cool.
It's cool. Well, congratulations to the baby. Congratulations for, your success. I think that's awesome. I'm always cheering on people who are helping more people because I guess we can reach out to more as we share more of the knowledge that you have and experience. So once again, that's awesome, man. We'll love to close up by having a way that people can learn more about your practice, of course, the type of the NRE method and whatnot. If you don't mind sharing a way that people can contact you and learn more about, whether if it's website, an email, or any ways that, people can reach out to even do a one-on-one session.
Yeah, brilliant. So my website is movemed.co.uk. Very simple, MoveMed. And my handle on everything, YouTube and all the others, is MoveMed UK. I probably should have thought about that because everyone's saying move me duck. And I'm like, no, it's MoveMed UK.
Well,
And our daughter's nickname is Ducky. So yeah, it's probably it was a subconscious thing.
oh man, what a way. That's awesome.
But yeah, people can reach out. My email's on the website. That's probably the easiest. I do pride myself in replying to, probably shouldn't say this in case this goes viral, but I reply to every comment on Instagram. So yeah, reach out. It'd be cool.
Perfect. Dr. Cuan, appreciate you hopping onto the podcast and sharing your knowledge. And of course, those of you who are interested, go to NaturContact.us, look into different type of barefoot shoes. They are very affordable. Wearing these, my Metroflex 3.0 been great for my ride and my travels. Starting to wear these Alaskan 2.0 boots just kind of for the winter and fall season. So thank you once again. I appreciate you. And don't forget to follow and subscribe. Thanks, everyone.